Hi. You want to introduce Mitch or you want me to?
I like your voice.
You don't. You're such a liar.
Yes, I do. You have a very nice voice.
Welcome to the Atlanta Digital World Summit podcast.
Voice for radio, right?
Today we are celebrating a local boy made good, one Mr. Mitch Leff. Here you are, Mitch. Mitch, I can't say this. Mitch went to Peachtree High School in Dunwoody and matriculated at Emory University. Mitch, I didn't know you went to Emory University.
Well, of course.
Jeez.
You didn't know that? I thought we talked about that.
No.
That's why it's so cool that I do work for them now.
It's amazing. His resume reads like a who's who in Atlanta media and public relations, including his highly successful solo enterprise, Leff Associates. And near and dear to our hearts, of course, he is a key board member of the Atlanta Digital World Summit Host Committee.
Is it a key or the key?
He is the key.
The key? A key?
Yeah, that's a misprint for it. You put
That's
a
what?
key.
He was.
A key.
A key or the key?
He's the key.
It's a key. It means here.
Support, you're getting brushed up on your Spanish. It's perfect.
Welcome to the Atlanta Digital World Summit podcast, Mr. Leff.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
Hey, go jump in.
Oh, I thought you were still practicing.
No.
You mean that was like the deal?
Wait,
That's the take we gotta work with.
That was
Okay.
real?
The shit that he
Where
gets.
are we
man,
going?
okay.
Are we actually doing this now?
It's so
Yeah.
Editing
good.
will ensue.
This is what my job is, yeah.
Or Mitch will sue.
Well, okay. We're very grateful to have you on the podcast. And
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention you, Port Wilson,
yeah,
and Ben Norton,
Audio engineer.
audio
podcast
engineer
host
galore,
today.
and everything else,
Podcasts are really not really much without audio, are they?
or video.
Yeah. You really need those audio engineers.
I forgot we were doing video.
Hi,
glad I
I'm
put makeup
Afterthought,
on.
Port Wilson. Talking to Mitch Leff today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Where do you want to begin? At the very beginning?
I would like to ask Mitch about maybe two or three things that he sticks by, because coming into Atlanta in 1992 when I moved here and slowly getting to know Mitch over the years, his relationship building has been amazingly consistent, and people really like Mitch Leff, and he has a great reputation. So this is, in all seriousness, Mitch, if there are a couple of things that you can tell our audience that are there's your recipe for how you manage your business, I would just love to get a little bit of your experience overview about that.
Sure. Well, I guess I'd look at the business and what I do as a long-term process, not a short-term process. It's not about having a client that lasts for a week. It's having a client that lasts for 10 years. It's not having a journalist that you work with that you do one story with or two stories with over the course of a month or two or three. It's about having a relationship with the journalist that you do stories with over 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. I hate to say, I don't want to say I stalk journalists, but I do kind of stalk journalists. You know, journalists move around, and when they move from city to city, then I kind of sort of follow them to their next city or their next job. And sometimes they come back, and sometimes they don't. And sometimes I never work with them again. And then sometimes 5 years later, I'll call them and say, hey, I've got a story in Seattle, or I've got a story in Dallas, or I've got a story in Indianapolis. We can work together again. And it's kind of just that maintaining the relationships long term that really helps us be much more successful.
Love that. I mean, you must know a lot of people.
I probably know a lot of people. I mean, I've been doing public relations in Atlanta since 1988. So how many years is that? Almost 40 years, I guess. So you do kind of meet a lot of people over the years, and they come and they go, and they leave town and they retire. For better or for worse, more of them are retiring lately, which is interesting to watch and see. But, you know, for all the new ones, I mean, yeah, we keep track of the relationships, but we seem to be able to build the relationships with the new people who are moving into town too. And some of that is based on the older relationships. You know, a new reporter comes to a newspaper, and their senior editor says, hey, you should call Mitch if you need sources for something. And you build the relationship with the new people. I always tell folks, if you're working with, say, especially TV and radio, more TV in Atlanta. If you take 2 years off, you don't know half the people in TV. If you take 5 years off, you probably don't know anybody in TV anymore because they churn so much. And sometimes it's a 2-year contract, sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 10 years. But there is a certain segment that is kind of moving on after the first 2 years here in Atlanta, and they go somewhere else for various reasons where their contract doesn't get renewed.
So just jump back for 1 second. You run Leff Associates, and your main business for Leff Associates is really working in the broadcast community.
Well, so Leff Associates is
it's a big part of it.
We're a public relations agency. We are based here in Atlanta, but we have clients we work with across the Southeast and in other cities too. I tell folks there's enough business in Metro Atlanta that we don't have to necessarily go looking for clients that are based in other cities. Is that bugging you?
No.
No.
Okay. All right.
I thought I heard someone's phone going off.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was mine.
It's okay.
Can I just ask one
you
quick
can check
question?
it if you need to.
Nah.
About public
You're a PR
relations.
guy.
People assume they know, and some people think, well, it's damage control or it's someone who needs what? Could you give me 3 sentences that defines public relations?
3 sentences.
3 sentences to define public relations.
3 sentences.
Make them good ones.
Public relations is about influencing people to do something. I did that in 1 sentence. How about that?
Hey.
And so we do this in our media trainings. We teach people how to do interviews, and one of the slides is we call it reader response. And the idea is that when you're doing public relations, you want the person who's hearing the story that you set up or the article that you've published to do something. You want them to buy a product, go to an event, vote a certain way, change an opinion, bring someone else to an event, help change someone. You want them to do something. And if they're not doing something, then your work really is not having the effect that you want it to have. So yes, we're a public relations agency. We're what's kind of referred to as an independent agency. So we're not owned by another big agency or a conglomerate or anything yet. If someone wants to make me an offer, I'm totally open.
He's ready to sell, baby.
I'm totally open.
What's the price point?
Well, I don't. There's probably six numbers in the price.
Oh, got it.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
like that cash splash.
Not that anybody's going to do that, but
You never know.
But you never know. So we do the overarching offering is public relations, which includes media relations, strategic counsel for clients, crisis communications, media relations for specific industries or specific events or companies, and then there are kind of sub things under that. We'll do press conferences or write for websites or write annual reports or write speeches, all those kinds of different things. But the idea is that the public relations is about getting people to do something. It's influencing opinion or action.
Go ahead.
I forgot my question.
Oh, do you find just without? I don't really want to get into politics, but just in as we seem to be in a really fractured timeline of how people feel. How do you walk a fine line if somebody comes in and comes up with represents something you don't necessarily agree with?
I say no, thank you. And I've had a couple of instances over the years where people have come to me and said, "I want you to represent this," and if it's something that it's not even necessarily something that I don't believe in, but if I feel like ethically it's something that I don't want to support, then I just say no, thank you. We had a conversation, agency job about 25 years ago, before I started my own company, and there was an opportunity to pitch. It's a business for a very large alcohol company. It's a liquor company. And there were some folks who were not comfortable with that. They said, I don't know if I want to be promoting hard liquor. And, we had some conversations about it, and, we decided to go ahead with it. But the agencies are usually pretty good about saying if you don't want to work on an account, you don't have to. There was probably 30 years ago, there was an agency in Atlanta, but they had other offices, but they were representing the Council of Catholic Bishops. And the council had a strong anti-abortion stance. And there were a number of women in the office who said, I don't want to work on that. Nope, don't believe in it. Can't with a straight face talk to anybody, say this is the right thing to do. And the bosses said, no problem. We'll put somebody else on. I mean, you don't want somebody on an account that doesn't believe in it. But as importantly, you don't want to force somebody to work on something that is uncomfortable for them.
Sure.
It's just not good. It's not good business.
It wouldn't be their best work anyway.
Well, yeah. So, I have the ability as a small business, a small agency, to kind of pick and choose what I want to work on. So if something comes my way and it's not something that's interesting to me, or if it's something I ethically or morally disagree with, then I can say, this is not for me. And sometimes I'll refer it to somebody else, and sometimes I'll just say, no, thank you. No, thank you. I mean, I will usually we have a good network of other PR folks, and I will usually reach out and say, this isn't for me for whatever reason. Is anyone else interested in it? And someone else, sometimes other people pick up on it. A good example, I just thought of something. So there was, 5 or 6 years ago, a new business opportunity came in, and it was an online store that was selling merchandise that was totally leaning towards one of the presidential candidates at the time. And
were they big red hats?
I'm not going to.
Okay, you're right. I'm sorry.
That's not important.
No, you're right.
That's not important.
You're right.
And I looked at it and I said, this is not for me. I said, I don't get too much into politics with my clients, but I said, this is just not something that I want to do. And I talked to a couple of other PR colleagues around town, and one of the other guys said, I'll do it. And he did the project, and he said it worked out pretty good. So if I can send some money somebody else's way, I'm happy to do that too.
Well, and this just business related, how and what's essentially seen as a cutthroat business, and yet you seem willing to refer people, and there's a community. What keeps you guys from
good question
backstabbing each other?
It's funny. We started a group about 6 years ago. We started an entertainment-focused PR group. It's called the Georgia Entertainment PR Alliance, and it was designed to put together teams that would work with clients in the entertainment industry. And the first meeting, we sat down with about 15 folks, and someone said, somebody said, I don't know everybody in this room. How do I know who to work with? How do I know who's good to work with? And I said, well, you work with them once, and if you like them, you work with them again. If you don't like them, you don't work with them again. So there we go. Yeah. And you can ask around, you check people's reputations, you see what other people say, but until you work with somebody for the first time, sometimes it's just a style thing, right? Someone can be technically excellent at what they do, but they're just not as quick as you like, or they're not as detail oriented as you like, or they're not as organized as you might like, and you might say, okay, I like you do good work, but you're too slow, or you're not there's typos in your stuff. You make your own choices.
Other than having high-profile clients, which people will say, "Oh, I know that company," but what's your metric for success for a campaign?
So it varies, and some clients have metrics, and I always ask. I said, "What is it?" We always ask that question: how do you judge success on this program? And sometimes it's as simple as, okay, we do this event called MomoCon every year, which is a
huge event.
Big anime, cosplay, comic book festival at the World Congress Center.
40,000 people a year.
Actually, so
more than that.
That's a good lead-in.
Okay.
So when we started working with them, there were less than 30,000 people a year going. 5 or 6 years later, they're up to almost 60,000.
Ooh.
Right? So, PR we don't necessarily take credit for all of that, but a good portion of that, because we've been able to get good media coverage and really get attention focused on an event that 6 years ago a lot of people didn't really know about at all. So for events, the metric is usually, did you get more people to the event? For a political campaign, it would be, did you win the campaign? Did you win?
Oh, yeah.
Did you win or did you lose? How many people voted? Did you increase the number of people who are voting? Sometimes it's a little more ephemeral. if you're doing an awareness campaign or an issues campaign, you might want to raise awareness of the issue, but it might be more of a long-term project. So it's not necessarily something that you're going to get results on in the first year. It could be, okay, we want to raise awareness of the fact that we need more people to go into the construction industry. We need more people in the skilled trades. That's not an issue or a problem that's going to be solved in 6 months. It's an ongoing issue that's going to be, it's been years in the making, it's going to be years in the fixing. But, you can measure events or client work based on number of media placements, the size of the audience, the quality of the audience you're trying to reach. We have had clients over the years who were not consumer facing. They were business to business, and they didn't care about being in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or on TV or radio. They just cared in being in their industry trade publications. We did one years ago that was a client in the poultry industry, and this company made a feed supplement for turkeys, and the customers were turkey farmers. So, and these turkey, and we always have this conversation. Where do your audiences get their information? Do they read it in their local paper? Do they read trades? Do they read whatever? And they said, most of our people make their decisions based on 5 industry trade publications: Turkey World, Feedstuffs, Poultry Times, and there were 2 others. I can't remember the other 2.
Not a turkey expert.
Right, yeah. So
you should be, because Georgia is the #1 poultry state in the country.
Yeah, we're especially more for chickens than turkeys, but
right.
Yes. The turkeys we visited were in North Carolina, I think. So you have to be specific. You have to ask the question: what is success on this? And it depends on the goals. I mean, we've done projects where we've done a groundbreaking, and the goal might be simply to get local governments interested in the project, or to get more people to sign up for the project. So you have to ask what the goals are. And sometimes the goals are huge, and sometimes they're smaller. We worked with clients in professional services where the sales process is a multi-year process. It's one thing if you're selling Arby's sandwiches. Arby's sandwiches is it's a $5 purchase. People decide about 10 minutes before, hey, I want to go to Arby's today. Boom. But if you're a major company and you want to change accounting firms, that's a multi-million-dollar, multi-year contract. You're going to take 2 years to decide, who do I want to change? Who's the new accounting firm I want to go to? And then you're not going to change for another 5 or 10 years, right? But you're going to pay whoever you chose, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars over the course of the contract. So there's not usually any one thing that's going to make you make that decision. You're going to look at a lot of different factors. In marketing, they say you want to touch people like 6 times. I think is the term to 4, 5, 6.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. You got to poke Sarah 6 times. So that could be one of the pokes. One of the touches might be a story on the radio. One of the touches might be doing a keynote at an industry trade conference. One of them might be taking someone out to dinner. One of them might be a social media post. So when they come to that time to say, okay, who do you want to send RFPs out to for this huge contract, they think, Acme Accounting. I've been seeing them. I've been hearing them. They've been on my radar. And that's how you do it. So you have to understand the process too.
Gotcha.
Being in the business this long, what's your favorite element? What's your favorite thing to do?
Be on the podcast.
After his own podcast.
Sarah's podcast is probably the highlight of my afternoon.
We made it, guys.
Going right into Saturday.
But I mean, you don't get jaded. What keeps motivating you?
The great thing about working as an agency is you get to work on a lot of different things every day. So we have about a dozen or so different clients. So we'll go from, working for a local municipality in the morning to talking about construction in the afternoon to dealing with, job numbers coming out today and reporters calling and saying, I need one of your Emory Gosweda professors to tell me what do these new job numbers mean. So
Wait, who was that again? Emory?
The Gosweda Business School at Emory University.
There you go. I'm going to make sure we give him a plug.
Yeah, no, I think Sarah mentioned earlier. I'm a graduate of the Gozueta School, so I've been working with the school on the PR side for about 10 years. So it's great to be able to do that for the school that I attended.
And I love them because I worked there for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I went into labor
You went into labor?
at the Gozueta Business School on the 4th floor.
You should have gone into labor at the Emory Hospital.
No, I went into labor in the school.
Because all the business folks are going to tell you is how much it's going to cost you to have this baby. Whereas the people
I
at the
already-
hospital can actually help you have the baby.
Exactly. Oh, you're right. Nobody knew what to do with
You
me,
didn't think,
actually.
you didn't think about that.
No, I went into labor, and I love this woman who's retired from the Gozueta Business School. Her name was Samantha Renfro. I don't know if you know Samantha.
I don't.
She was over career services, and she had offered me a job. And I went into labor, and I went downstairs to tell her that I had a meeting with her, not knowing I was going into labor that morning. And I said, Samantha, I don't think I can take this big job from you right now because I'm about to have a baby, you know.
And to prove it, you went into labor?
I'm going to have a baby.
There you
And then at the end of the meeting, she said, well, because I didn't move, I just sat there. And she goes, you can leave now. And I said, I can't leave. And she was like, why can't you leave? And I said, I'm having a contraction. So, yeah, that's why I love the business school.
I think if you go into labor in an Emory campus building, the child should get free admission to Emory University one day. If
And
they
you
so
know
choose.
what?
They call that birthright tuition.
Yeah,
There you go.
that could be a thing.
Excellent.
It's
I made
it's the
it
12th
out of there.
Amendment to the Constitution. It's under, I think, 12. Is it 12?
It's in there somewhere.
It's in there. It's in the top 20.
I wanted to make sure I got as much time off as possible, so I stayed to the very last minute going
So
into
your
labor.
question.
What was my question?
Wait. I have a question.
She's digressing us, isn't she?
Nice.
All right,
Yeah, I
but
know.
it's her
I'm a
podcast, so she can do
narcissist.
that.
I have to talk about
She can do
myself. I have a question
All
for
right.
you. You have to keep people's secrets. A lot of secrets when you're in PR because people call up with emergency things. Like
That's true.
Oh, I've called you up with emergency things.
Yeah.
Oh my God, this is happening, and you really have to be trusted.
Yes, that's true.
I know. So
Well,
what do you
also,
do?
it's job
Do you-
security, isn't it? In a
You-
weird sense.
You don't share the secrets with anybody.
I know. It's amazing to me.
Yeah. You just do it.
And his face, you could tell him something that would be insane, and his expression would never change.
Well,
How do you do that?
yeah. Honestly, you have to be honest with your clients when they come to you with something like that.
Yep.
I mean, I had literally some years ago, I changed my standard contract because I had a local animal shelter that called me looking for some crisis communications work. And the context of the first phone call was Randy Travis from the I-Team from Channel 5 is coming over tomorrow to talk to me. And I said, what are they going to talk to you about? I'm not sure. I said, I'll tell you what, let me send you a contract, and meanwhile I'll call Randy and say what's what. So I called him, and he after he stopped laughing, he said, you're working with those guys? I said, yeah, we're trying to help them out. I said, what can you tell me? So he told me a little bit about what the story was about. So when I sent these folks my contract, I said, we can help you with this situation. We cannot guarantee that we can make this go away, but we can work to make it less bad, which is literally what I said. It's like, make this less bad. And because they
And then you adopted a dog.
well, I mean, sometimes people will come to us and they have done things wrong.
Yeah.
They've made mistakes.
Clean it up for me.
And we're not. And I always tell folks, public relations can't fix an operational issue. You want to fix an operational issue with your company, fix the operational issue. Don't tell me that, hey, our oil tanker is spilling millions of gallons of oil into the Gulf.
That never
I
happened.
need you to PR that and
Make it sound good.
Make it better. I said, well, how about you patch up your oil tanker and stop leaking the oil into the Gulf, and then we can maybe make it look a little better. So, but to your question, what makes it interesting? What do I look at is I love clients that are involved with things that are topical, things in topical news where we can respond to things that are happening in the world and offer their expertise. We call that, offering subject matter experts. Some clients, you're talking about a service or a product. but we usually will look at a client and say, okay, you're a general practice doctor, but you can talk about other things outside of what's the general services that you offer every day. We work with Noonan Family Medicine down south part of the city, and Cecil Bennett is the doctor down there, and he's great. But he talks about what's happening in his practice. We started with him in 2020, right? What was happening in 2020? So we could talk about
COVID.
We could talk about vaccinations and health issues, and allergies and measles and mental health, all of these things, senior health, all of these things that he sees in his practice, he can talk with journalists about. We like clients that are responsive. If they're not responsive, it doesn't really work well for media. The clients who call us back 3 days later and say, "Hey, I can do that interview now." Well, that's three days past where that reporter was waiting for their source.
Do they just not understand the urgency, or they don't care?
I don't think they understand.
They don't. Well, I wouldn't say they don't understand it. They understand it because we explain it to them. It's just it's not always their priority, which is fine. Sometimes we don't want to take you away from the business that you're making money on to do interviews, because then you're not making money on whatever you're doing. With our Emory Law and Goethe professors, we don't pull them out of class to do interviews. Yeah, and sometimes we joke about it. It's like, oh, that teaching is really getting in the way of you doing interviews. But we'll look and say, okay, you're not teaching on Tuesday, so that teaching thing's getting in the way of doing interviews. Yeah, but we had a law firm a few years ago that was in family law, and the initial intention was to have them do media, but they really weren't available. They were busy with clients, they were in depositions, they were in court, and we after a couple of months we said, okay, look, this is not working. We're spinning our wheels. You're getting a little frustrated. Let's pivot. So instead of trying to do media, we created a blog program for them where we contributed blog pieces for their blogs and did all related things with that, and that worked really well for them in terms of their referral stream. And it was something they didn't have to do in an hour. They could take a couple of days or a couple of weeks to do it and to write it. And if sometimes I don't know if you guys know any lawyers, but sometimes they're a little nitpicky.
I do.
A little nitpicky about what they're writing. So, but it wasn't hey, we got to do this today kind of thing, and that worked out really well.
Well, you have to be able to pivot then. I mean, you're always, what can we do if this isn't working?
Yeah. I mean, and we like doing the media relations part. For me and for Kim Spees, who's my partner, that's what we love doing. It's fun for us. It's interesting. It's different every day. It sometimes breaks on what's going on in the world, and we're always kind of looking to see what's happening that morning, that day, what's coming up, to anticipate what are the stories for tomorrow, what are the stories for next week. If we know, for example, that the government's going to institute a new wave of tariffs on April 2nd, then, over the next couple of weeks, we're going to be talking to our professors, we're going to be talking to reporters and saying, hey, if and when this happens on April 2nd, we've got somebody who can talk about it, and here's generally what they can say. So it's that looking ahead. And for so many things, many things they're not surprises. I mean, when Supreme Court's going to issue rulings. When economic report's going to come out every month. When the 4th of July is every year. We have one client that talks about the cost of things. So we do these fun stories about, here's what the 4th of July is going to cost you this year. Here's what Mother's Day is going to cost you this year. Here's what Thanksgiving dinner is going to cost you this year. So you just extrapolate. And guess what? 4th of July, you kind of know when that's going to happen every year.
I would hope.
It doesn't sneak up on you.
It doesn't sneak up on you. It's not at the mercy of the lunar calendar.
No.
It's usually going to happen somewhere right around the 4th of July.
Well, how do you get your stories published? You do these stories. How do you?
Did you steal her question?
He did.
That's
Oh,
what
well,
that was.
you want to ask the question?
I did. That's why I raised
That
my
was my master plan.
I kind of saw her raising her hand there.
I thought you had to go to the
Or is-
bathroom. Sorry.
Can I pee?
The bathroom pass?
I wanted to ask you, because I think a lot of people have a nebulous understanding of public relations. Sometimes they think it's marketing, and sometimes they think it's advertising, and they just don't always understand what PR is. have you ever gotten blamed for something?
Yes. Yes. I have.
No delay there.
No, I think PR people get crucified when they have done nothing wrong, and it's a hard space to be in, because you have to, first of all, I think you want to make the client feel okay, and then you also don't want to sound like you're backpedaling. But have you gotten blamed for something?
Yeah, and sometimes it was my fault, and sometimes it wasn't. We were doing some work with the Atlanta Press Club on their debate series a few years ago, and I was kind of managing the media room, and one of the candidates, the reporters wanted to talk to them, and they said, "Well, where is so and so? Can we talk to him?" And I said, "Well, no, he's left the building. He's not available for interviews." And so one of the reporters tweeted that out.
That Mitch Leff said.
Mitch Leff said
Joe Schmo left the building.
This candidate is not available. Left the.
So it sounded bad.
Yeah, and the candidate heard. I guess his person saw that on Twitter.
Yep.
And turned around and came back.
Ooh.
But he wasn't happy with me. He wasn't happy with me that I did that. I said, well, and I was kind of reviewing. I was kind of reviewing. It's like, what did I say? Did I say anything incorrect? Did I imply that he was evading questions? I simply said he's left the building. I mean, the reporter might have implied a little bit more in her tweet that he left the building because he didn't want to talk to reporters, but I didn't say that. Right?
No.
But you can read it several ways.
But you can read it that way. So his press person.
Governor Kemp
I got
left the building.
I got some glares from his press person when they came back. It was fine. The press club people thought it was pretty
It's
funny.
not your fault, though. That's Mitch. It's not your fault. It's okay.
It was sort of my fault, but not entirely.
Indirectly, yeah.
The person had actually left the building.
And the reporter who tweeted it
Was a bitch.
I love
Sorry.
She's an awesome reporter. She's now over at the Journal-Constitution covering.
Don't say what it is. I just
covering
called her the
the city of
B-word.
Atlanta.
I retract.
She's
I retract.
Awesome. You don't know who I'm talking about.
No, and
but if you knew her, you would know that she's the nicest person.
Did you go back to her and say, "See, I got him back for you"?
I thought I was the nicest person.
We did have some laughs about it after, and maybe a day or two after.
I did want to thank you because at the Atlanta Digital World Summit, you single-handedly managed to put together part of our programming and hand out the first Digital Leadership Award that we did in a complex situation with someone in Lebanon, Imtiaz Tayeb of CBS News. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so
because you did a great job.
Well, so we had you came up with the award and did the heavy lifting. I was just kind of helping with some of the logistics. So Imtiaz Tayeb he's a CBS international reporter based in London, but he was working in Lebanon at the time of the summit last year, and various things happened. He was supposed to be in Atlanta to receive the award in person. And for various reasons,
I had to change his ticket 3 days before.
Right. Well, for various reasons, all of a sudden he was basically trapped in Lebanon.
Yep.
They weren't letting him out. I think
Nope.
I think they took his passport, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
the Lebanese government.
we
took his
had
passport.
Brendan Keefe from Channel 46, who was going to be the kind of actually give the award to him. So we kind of scrambled and set up a Zoom,
which our illustrious engineer executed.
That's true. That
there you
was
go.
me.
Yeah. So we set up the Zoom, and we were live from Lebanon, and it worked out pretty good.
Once we got it all working, it worked good.
Once we got the connection working.
Brendan thought it was great. You know? It
Brendan-
worked out really well. I think,
Brendan-
considering how clunky it could have been.
Right.
But Brendan killed it.
Yeah. No, it was great, and I told you Brendan was going to be great.
Brendan was great, and
He's
Imtiaz was great too.
Yeah. So that was fascinating. I mean, it almost looked like we planned it that way because hey, he's an international correspondent. And he's doing this live from
his hotel room
from Lebanon. So
where he was on house arrest.
Yeah, I mean,
Added a little gravitas to it.
It actually might not have been as good if he'd just been there in person.
I agree with you.
Only because it worked pretty smoothly, though.
Right, because it worked great. Yeah.
I mean, we were at a tech summit. We used the power of technology to transmit him from across the world to that room.
Well, and that was part of the conversation of how he uses technology to do his job and deliver his stories. I mean, I go back to, I've been doing live events or live interviews with reporters for years and years and years. And, when we first started doing it, like at the World Congress Center, the TV crew would have to park their van by the back door. They'd have to haul a mile of, heavy cable all the way to where they needed to be. They had a satellite truck out there with the big huge truck. And now the guys come in with a little backpack and they're live from wherever they want to be in the Congress Center. And, they just, okay, we're good. We're on now.
Do you remember the old Al Franken thing from Saturday Night Live where wear the satellite gear on his head? And it's like, and actually, it used to be so arcane and so hard to do, and now it really is.
Well, it looks easy to me because I don't know how it works. But for you guys, everything's easy when you know how to do it, right? If you don't know how to do it, then it's not. Because you were asking what is PR, how does it work, and I probably be explained to my mother for 50 years how PR works and how it doesn't work. PR is different from advertising in that advertising is something you purchase and you buy it. You have total control over what the message is, where it's going to appear, and when it's going to appear. You're gonna buy this ad. It's going to be on page.
Tell me not something that you've done, but tell me a PR campaign that you thought was brilliant. That was really like a popular one people might know, where you were like, oh, they killed it. They did such a good job.
I have to think about that for a second. There've been a lot of them. Yeah, what's interesting is
anyone will do.
I'm on the spot. Okay,
yeah.
We could edit out the dead air, right?
Add
we
some
need
Jeopardy
music.
Yeah.
We need Jeopardy. Yep. We need music.
Is that public domain? I don't think so.
We're just good.
I think I get it. I'm frozen.
Okay, then we'll change the subject.
Let's go. We'll come back to that.
Tell me about your first girlfriend.
No.
Well, wait, I kind of actually wanted to ask.
All right, go. I'm just telling.
No, you.
Well, we were talking about the kind of the difference. You're asking about the difference between PR and advertising. And PR is, we call it earned media because we're not paying the station, we're not paying a reporter to do the story. There are some pay-to-play opportunities, but for the most part, it's you have to earn the opportunity to be on their air. And from a PR person's perspective, we think there's added credibility to being part of a story as opposed to buying an ad on a TV station. Because when you watch a newscast, you're listening to the stories, you're not necessarily watching the ads. The ads come on, and that's when you get up and go to the bathroom or fix your dinner or check your phone. So the advertising people tell you that they may tell you differently, but it's part of the mix, right? And if you've got a big product or a big launch or a big event or a campaign, you usually want to do both. You want to have advertising, you want to have public relations, you want to have billboards, you want to have an email campaign. You want to reach people different ways because chances are just one way is not going to reach them. And that varies by industry. The Arby's folks, when I worked for them years ago, they told me the best way to boost sales for them was simply to send out coupons. It wasn't media, it wasn't
coupons.
Advertising. It was send out a buy one get one free coupon, and that's what gets people to come into Arby's and buy more sandwiches.
As media expands, does your job get easier or harder? All the avenues you can go down.
It is. It does become a little more challenging, but it's a matter of finding the right channels that really impact your client. And it has become more fragmented, and now you see media outlets that are focused on specific audiences or specific age groups. You see podcasts that are super focused, women under the age of 20, men over the age of 60. So if you've got a specific product that hits those audiences, then that's where you want to go. Some products fit that. If you've got a product for men over the age of 60, then that's what.
Like what?
Grecian formula.
Ooh, okay.
I know what you were thinking. Stop it.
We always know. She's always thinking that.
No, I'm
it's
not.
the only thing she's ever thinking.
Be quiet, Ed.
It's the only.
And on that note,
but clients are different. So we're constantly looking for what's new, different ways to reach them. Years ago we started adding social media. We figured out how to make social media work as part of the mix. We started adding influencer campaigns. See how does that work as part of the mix, and that works for some clients and not as well for others. It depends on the product or the service. For our company, we look at different ways to add additional revenue streams to what we do. So you have the basic public relations services where they pay you by the hour, by the month, by the year, however they want to pay you. But we also offer media training. So if a company or individual is sometimes they're in trouble, sometimes they just want to be able to talk about their product or their service. Mm-hmm. And we train them how to do that. And it's a little bit like, and we do offer presentation training too. It's a little bit different, but media training is specifically for media. How do you do interviews? How do you, understanding the dynamics of the world of media, what drives the reporter. So when you're pitching a story, how to make the story interesting. And that's kind of how we work with clients. We also we have a database of Atlanta media that we sell, Leff's Atlanta Media, which is our subscriber database. So that's an additional service.
Or LAM.
LAM. I call it LAM. 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 We're on the LAM. You're on the LAM. We're on the LAM now. And then we just started. We're just launching a new training module for municipalities that's designed not as much of a media training, but it's designed to train city county governments how to work better with media. So it's not necessarily how to be a spokesperson, but it's how do I, as the Bartow County or Fulton County or Coweta County, how do I set up my department to be most effective, have an effective media relations program that's going to help my city or county achieve what it wants to achieve. And we've just started the last couple of months rolling that out. So we're setting that up and getting some interesting response to that. And that tends to be a little bit customized because every city or county is a little bit different. The bigger counties have pretty good sized departments, but when you get out to the smaller counties, they've got, the media relations function is often handled by the city clerk or the city manager or one of the council members. So it's one person who's doing it in addition to everything else they're doing. And we see that with nonprofits and smaller companies too. The person who's in charge of public relations is often in charge of 5 or 6 other things. They could be, especially with nonprofits, the PR person is also the marketing person, the sponsorship salesperson, the special events person, the person who manages social media, the person who manages their website, and the person who does their internal communications.
It's the external-facing person.
And often internal too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends how big the nonprofit or the company is.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I think you got a text.
I don't think that was me.
Yes, it was.
Yeah,
I'm not taking responsibility for that.
Tell me then a little bit. What is you have your own podcast, 4 Questions Journalist. What is? Tell me about that.
Sure. So the 4 Questions Journalist Spotlight is a podcast that we started. It's actually been a podcast for about 5 years. Before that, it was a written product. I probably started it, 10 years ago. And it was just a written, kind of a blog kind of thing where I had 4 questions and reporters would just do the questions in writing and send them out, and we'd do it like that. And then a few years ago, I decided, well, what if we took this up a notch and did it as a video podcast and started doing it that way. And then I was talking to Sarah, actually, and Sarah said, why don't you do this as an audio podcast,
Okay, we're having a disruption.
We have a Finnegan cameo on the podcast today.
You want to get him? Can you get him?
So we started.
Oh, there he goes.
He's wondering.
Okay.
All right.
So
he's taking care of himself.
So we started the video, and I realized, Sarah and I were talking, and I realized, obviously, once you have the video of a podcast, it's not much time at all to turn it into an audio podcast also because, video's got audio. So we interview a local journalist twice a month. I started it 4 times a month, and that was a little too much. It was good, but it was a lot. So I've knocked it down to twice a month. So twice a month we talk to a Georgia journalist, and it can be anywhere in the state, and it's radio, it's TV, it's newspapers, it's online, and we ask them, kind of start talking about their publication and their work background, and then we kind of get into some fun things. The hardest question of the podcast we always ask is, what's the coolest thing about you? and people are like, "There's nothing cool about me at all."
I am so cool.
And then we'll start talking.
And then Mitch answers for them.
And we start talking and say, "Well, do you collect something? Do you have a talent? Do you sing?"
Stamps.
And like, "Oh, well, I do this." And, I was talking to Katja Ritterbusch, who's a local journalist, about a month ago.
Say that again. Katja Ritterbusch.
Katja Ritterbusch.
Love it. Good
She
job.
She's a local freelance writer. Awesome. She writes for Georgia Biz and Atlanta Magazine and a couple other local publications. And she collects rubber duckies. Right, little rubber duckies, and she said she
They are cute.
Started collecting them years ago, and she's got them all over her house. She's got them in categories. So she's got a shelf of police rubber duckies and fireman rubber duckies. Anyway, so it's a way. It serves a couple of things. It helps me build a relationship with the journalists. And the listeners, who are often other PR
got a fun
people,
fact.
they can use that to kind of build a
Blackmail.
relationship. You learn a little bit about the person you're talking to. So it's not entirely a business transaction. It's like, hey, I saw that you like rubber duckies. I like rubber duckies too.
Humanizes them.
Or-
like making a friend.
And I won't get the
Yeah.
song out of my head all
Right.
day.
Well,
He's picturing Ernie in the bath.
I actually used the Sesame Street music as part of the podcast. So instead of
For
my
all
usual,
your young people who
instead
don't
of-
know this, look it up. Ernie in the bathtub.
yeah.
God, are there young people who don't know Sesame
You're the
Street?
one. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I did that. I went and grabbed some sound, and
What?
that was my my intro music and bumper music out of the segment was Rubber Ducky, you're the one.
Singing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love
She
it.
loved
It was great. So we learned about it, and it goes out on all the audio and Apple Podcasts and all of those, and it goes on YouTube. So all of those kinds of things.
Very
so,
good.
So it's been a great podcast. I struggle with how long should I make these things. So
On that note,
right. On that, I usually go for 12.
Wrap it up.
On that note, speaking of talking too long, Mitch.
no, I love
Cold.
There's two things though that I do have to say before we end. Is one, I have to thank our sponsor, Arnold Gold and Gregory. They've been sponsoring our Atlanta Digital World Summit podcast and the official cat of the Atlanta Digital World Summit podcast, which is Finnegan.
Who made
Thank
an
you,
appearance.
Finnegan. He is a beautiful effing cat.
He
And
looks
he
great
knows
on
it.
camera.
He knows it. Well,
He's the real talent here.
I'm going to be tweeting some
The
pictures.
cats always know it. They always know it.
They do. No,
Dogs
he's-
are like, am I cute? I don't know.
I'm cute.
Cats,
I'm cute.
The cats know.
And I have a very important question to ask you because there were these people that I loved to see, and they're gone now. And I thought they were great PR advertisers, which are the sign spinners. Remember the people that would spin the signs?
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd see like a really good sign spinner where they could do it over their head, one finger. Like, where did the sign spinners go? Did COVID get rid of all the sign spinners? What happened?
That's an interesting question. You would think kind of sort of that COVID would not have affected those people because they're out
They
there.
were outside.
They're kind of outside and they're kind of by themselves.
And it was real, actually, people, that was noted as one of the most effective ways to get people to come into a store
You
was to
can't not
have a
look at
sign
these
spinner.
guys.
So you don't know.
I don't know.
He's stumped.
I don't know. But
We're
now,
all
now I
stumped.
need to go figure out what happened to the signs.
I know, we got to figure this
Great
out.
question. Mystery.
Please, you guys, email us or
If you're a sign,
info.
if you are or used to be a sign spinner,
I would love to have somebody spin a sign outside the summit this year, which is going to be on the 16th of September, by the way, Mitch. So
where's it going to be?
It's going to be at Skillshot. We're going back to Skillshot Media.
Skillshot.
You think-
Where's that, sir?
It's on Piedmont Avenue,
Like by,
next to where the
by,
Gold Club used to be.
by Lindbergh. Over
Yes,
there?
there's the Mart over there.
right over there.
And the former nudie bar.
I don't know anything about that.
The Gold Club. You don't know anything.
But what's a nudie bar?
I don't know. I'll look it up.
You mean
Oh,
a
you would
noodle
pu-
bar?
you-
Noodle bar? I've been-
Okay, wait.
Like Doc Chay's?
Yeah.
That was my other question.
Ooh, Doc Chase. I hadn't been there in a long time.
Yeah.
What happened to the noodle guys? I mean, they used to be popular. They're not that popular anymore
Like
either.
the ones that wave
Yeah.
at the car
Yeah.
dealership?
Yeah.
Tube men.
Are they not popular anymore?
No,
How do you know?
because I look for noodle guys.
Yeah.
I look for sign spinners and noodle guys.
I know what I'm getting you for Christmas.
Porcelain.
What are we
It's like,
getting?
what's
What are we
happening
getting?
to society? These people are just gone.
It's the jobs, man.
Yeah.
It's jobs. Like the best sign spinner used to be near Emory.
Where?
At the corner of North
Decatur and
Druid
Carmel?
Hills and Emory.
Yeah.
Outside that Kinko's. He was unbelievable.
So
That
my big
he
question
was,
is,
he
how
was
do you
kind of like the mascot for
segue
the
out of this
Philadelphia
into an
Phillies.
Maybe it's windier now. Is it climate? Is it a
Climate change.
I think
Killing the sign
I think
spinners.
climate change because it's so windy now that the spinners just can't.
I
they
think
can't
we
get-
should get a Leff Associates sign spinner and bring it back. What do you think?
I think we can do that.
I think we can do it too. I
Stand
think we
outside
should
my
have
office
a
and spin it.
contest
Yeah, who can spin the sign the best?
for like, shut up, Sarah.
I was talking to my partner Kim yesterday about creating a new
There's the
game
Amazon
called,
man.
a new game called Media Whack-A-Mole. Because sometimes, and I love the reporters I work with, but sometimes they get assigned a story, and we set up the interview, and then they get pulled to a different story, and then sometimes they come back to the same story on the same day or another day. So it is kind of a whack-a-mole kind
Got
of
it.
whack, 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 whack.
I bet you're good at that.
Well, you kind of figure out. Part of it is, as with so many things, you stress about the things you can control, and don't worry about things you can't control. So, reporters who get put on a story and then something else happens and they get pulled off onto it. That's how news works.
Yeah.
That's just the nature of it. So, we teach our clients, don't be upset about it. It's nothing personal. It's just the way it works. Something else more important happened. They need to go cover it. And they'll come, and if you have a good attitude towards it, the reporters will come back to you.
Okay.
Sometimes you can do the story the next day or a week later. Sometimes you can't. That's why I tend not to do like really short-term projects, like one opening of a store.
One-offs,
Because if something happens that day, you're just screwed, right? I mean, I had a friend who years ago, she had a press conference in D.C. the day one of the space shuttles exploded.
Oh.
Right? And she says, we just said, okay, we're just going to go home.
Yeah.
It wasn't related to it. It was something else. I mean, I had an event at the day that
You
somebody
can't beat the space shuttle exploding.
I had an event when I was sitting there waiting for reporters to show up, and one guy finally showed up, and I said, I was kind of wondering if anybody was coming today. He's like, well, there's that guy who shot up the food court at Perimeter Mall about an hour ago, so that's probably where everybody is.
Oh.
And I was like, okay. So I did learn to kind of keep the radio on and listen to what's going on. I did once call a TV station, and she said, I really can't talk to you now because we're dealing with the what was the federal building that got blown up?
In Oklahoma?
In Oklahoma, yeah. And it happened like an hour before. She's like, we're dealing with the Oklahoma City bombing. Okay. And I was like, okay. And I hung up and goes, anybody hear anything from Oklahoma?
Do you have a police scanner in your house?
I have a radio. And I have this new thing. It's like an internet thing.
Uh-huh.
So it has lots of news on it. So
the internet.
As it turns out.
Is that what it's called? The internet? Internet?
It has a lot of news
Internet?
on it.
The
Yeah.
WWW.
News. NEWS, not NUDES. I'm sorry.
NUD.
Maybe I didn't speak clearly enough.
No, I thought you were talking about back to the Gold Club, and you're now the nudes and
Some
the
of those
noodle guys
I think
and
you
the
can
sign
find some
spinners.
of those on there too. Supposedly, but I don't really know.
It's just,
I
Mitch.
think Gold Club's been
your
gone for
mind's
20
in the
years
gutter.
and it's gotten 3 mentions today from her.
How old do you have to be to not know what the Gold Club was? I mean, what's the age?
Ben, do you
if
know?
No, I don't know about that.
Come
So
on, the name gives it
Ben's
away.
26.
I definitely get the impression of what
We'll
it is.
tell you all about it. Or we could call Warren Moon because he went there.
Ooh.
Everybody went there.
Okay, now let's not explain
Did I
more.
miss out on something?
Okay, you did.
Take us out, Sarah.
All right, Ben and Port, we are so grateful for your continuing support and participation on this podcast. And Mr. Mitch Leff, you are a joy to have as a guest. And I think I can say this with a lot of support from the community. You're a joy and a great additive to the media business
Well, thank
in
you.
Atlanta.
I appreciate that, Sarah.
It's true. Port, again, and Ben and Mitch, thank you. This is the Atlanta Digital World Summit podcast, and we are out.
Hey, everybody, lunch at the Gold Club.
Let's hit it up.